Well, that sucked.
David Lynch has died at the age of 78.
Mourning the loss of legendary actor Robert Redford.
Complications of
We ended DEI in America.
Some stories have a sad end. Some sad stories have no fucking point.
The only reason why I didn't hear much rumination about why 2025 sucked is because 2026 came out of the gate being even worse. But hey, at least the music was good like 2024, right? Okay, but the movies, were they big like 2023? Look, there were some great movies, we'll get to them, but I did struggle to find even a couple of films I felt as passionate about as I did for the top 10 of last year, up until like December. I didn't even care to rank the movies this year aside from like the top 3 or 4, but that's okay, because even if the passion isn't as fiery, I still get to talk about a lot of movies. So sit back, crack open an Orbits, and let's talk about some cracking pictures.
In hater mode, man. I don't care anymore. I don't care about anything anymore. I was going to record this outside and just decided to buck it down. Also, sorry if this looks weird. I've got a new camera and weird lighting setup going on. But, you know, it's, you should be used to this if you've watched another video by now.
Oh, by the way, you see that microphone I'm holding? Yeah, well, the cord on the receiver decided to unplug by 1/1,000,000th of a micron, so none of the audio from it recorded. And I'm just waving it around, talking into it like a jackass. So the sound on the video just comes from the camera and it kinda sucks. Yay! Yippee!
I guess I'll go through everything I gave a 7 out of 10, or at least most things. Come see me in the good light. Good documentary, really touching, sad story, enough to carry it. I'm not a poetry person, but I like the poetry in this. The only thing holding it back is that the aesthetic is generic, which is fine, but the score is so boring and generic. But it was very sad seeing the lead, Andrea Gibson, say, I want to live until I'm at least 50, and then they died like a month before their 50th birthday. It made the whole thing even more poignant than it already was. Hedda, this is the second movie directed by Nia DaCosta in the past couple of months. It's great. I really enjoyed it. It's a fun, dark, weird movie. My favorite Tessa Thompson performance. I like how it's very naturalistic lighting, but it's not sacrificing getting a strong aesthetic just to get those naturalistic, warm lighting choices. It actually feels like those are helping the dark, twisted energy this is going for. And it's a fun little cat and mouse game, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm excited to see other Nia DaCosta films. I got us Little Woods. Was her first one? I want to watch that. Chronology of Water. I'm not a big fan of Kristen Stewart as an actor, but as a writer-director, if this is anything, then I think she's fantastic. I love the editing here. I kind of balked at an interview she did where she was like, I didn't take any cinematic inspiration. This completely just came from my imagination from reading the book. But in watching it, it really does feel like something completely new, and I can't really track down a very definitive... This has traces of like Kenneth Anger, and the cinematography of Maurice Alberti kind of looks like it, but it does actually feel like a very fresh, original vision, and I'm excited to see more from Kristen Stewart. And Imogen Poots is fantastic, and it does look incredible. It's an incredible feat in editing. Highest to lowest, I've already talked about this twice. It has a lot of roadblocks, but there's just too many interesting things going on here performance-wise, aesthetically, to really write off. I wish it was better, but I think it was good enough already. I've seen it like 3 times. I've talked about it 3 times. Go watch my Spike Lee video or my last video. After the Hunt, what a bizarre movie. It looks kind of weird. Speaking of Spike Lee, this was shot by Malik Hassan Saeed. I talked about it a bit in my Spike Lee video, and I really like his cinematography. Here, everything looks a little washed out, a little too much. It's his first movie since Belly, maybe? What his last movie was. It's very washed out. I remember I was watching it on my TV and my dad came in and he was like, I think this TV's broken. All the colors are washed out. I'm like, no, it just looks like that. It's not the smartest movie in the world. It's not really a definitive statement on cancel culture or like sexual politics or what have you, but it is, to me, an interesting story flavored by those elements and that modernity. And I think there's enough here in the interplay between Roberts and Edebiri and Garfield and Stolberg that it pretty consistently kept my interest, even if it's way too long and it's a little full of itself. Not sure how much it amounts to, but I think it was engaging while it lasted. There are still some very stunning shots. Editing wise, it's very interesting. It's kind of pushing what Guadagnino's done over this past couple of movies in terms of cutting to like fragments, split-second shots of hands, sort of subliminally reinforcing, emotionally contextualizing the character's actions. It's interesting. And apparently his new movie is not too much different. Nuremberg, sturdy movie. Russell Crowe was great. Rami Malek was fine. It's from the writer of Zodiac, and it kind of has that deliberate plottings, that sort of journalistic pacing. I'm not sure how to really describe it, but that's how I'm gonna. It looks a little too grey and washed out, but it comes with the territory for like a World War II Holocaust drama. Dariusz Wolski shot it, who's like Gore Verbinski's cinematographer for a while, and Alex Proyas. He shot so many great movies, and this was framed really effectively. There's still some shots that are kind of stuck in my mind. Lighting setups are very dramatic, added to the dark, dramatic tone this was going for, and I think the ending's very good, even if Ryan Malick's hamming it up a little bit, but I think that's appropriate for the type of ending it's going for. The Naked Gun, it gets too big by the end. It's way too big an action climax. It stops stretching and starts breaking a little bit, but it's as funny as it needed to be. It's got so many great gags. Pretty much everything you've heard about it is true. I can't really review it because then I'd just be repeating a bunch of jokes from the movie, but go watch it. It's fantastic. And it's 85 minutes long. Is it better than the originals? I don't know, I haven't seen them. It's not better than Top Secret, that's what I'll say. Die My Love, I'm not sure it amounts to much, but I enjoyed it while it lasted. I think Robert Pattinson's okay, but I think Jennifer Lawrence is fantastic. I haven't even seen all of her most acclaimed movies, like the David O. Russell movies or whatever, but I thought she was great here. It's like this feral, bizarre woman, and I thought it was an interesting movie, poetically expressing motherhood, sort of turned into loud, bizarre, garbled nonsense, and this movie sort of ended up being bizarre, loud, garbled nonsense. And I say that affectionately because I really think it was well made. The nonsense. It's very absurd, but you know, it's a big swing. I remember seeing someone say that you have no idea what this couple is like before the baby, so there's no like relativity. You don't know what they lost, how she is now compared to how she used to be. And I kind of agree with that. It's kind of like a chink in the armor, but it was effective even aside from that, nonetheless. Lynn Ramsey, good filmmaker. K-pop Demon Hunters. The main metaphor of this movie makes no sense. Movie of this film makes no sense. It's about coming to accept the demonness within them, because she gets to fall in love with this demon guy who's like, being a demon isn't so terrible, and if you alienate those qualities within yourself, you alienate those qualities within others. But then those are just the only two demons that have that, so I don't know how demonness ends up translating as a metaphor for like queerness or metaphor for anything different that you feel about yourself. It's kind of like Barbie, where it's like, okay, so the matriarch and the patriarchy is switched, so it's supposed to feel good that the patriarchy's, because isn't that the matriarchy technically? Basically, it's a little off. Aside from that, it's really funny. It looks incredible. The framing is a little generic sometimes. It has that like 1 point perspective, flat, shallow depth of field center framing a little too much. I don't think it's to crop it to TikTok. I think it's just because they're like, well, we need to think of a shot, so I don't know, this looks clean, I guess. Which for an animated movie is a little disappointing, but it's not overbearing. And the gags, it's so gag heavy and it's so funny most of the time. I really laughed a lot, and I don't like K-pop, but I thought the implementation of all the songs were pretty good and they kind of grew on me over time. So I'm glad kids are growing up with something that's like fun and funny and gag heavy and this good looking. F1, fun racing movie. I've talked about F1 in my previous video. It's good. Good Joseph Kosinski race stuff. Hamnet. I really liked how this looked. It wasn't like overwhelming or overbearing, but it had this really good mix of blocking and framing and sort of this dance between them. Not in like a Spielbergian sense where it's like the steady cams going and just sort of stitching together multiple compositions, but I just thought it was like a gentle medium pace that was well done, and the cuts to handheld felt appropriate, all the camera moves felt appropriate, it all felt very behavioral, and I guess I'm going to say behaviorally congruent, and aesthetically congruent. That's a fun term. Jesse Buckley was really good, and I thought Paul Mescal was also really good. And I really like the ending, and about how it's about Agnes coming to understand why William acted the way he did, and how that art and that grief affects everyone. It ripples out towards so many people. Aside from the fact that they use that fucking Max Richter song that has been used in a million movies and TV shows over the past fucking 15 years. Can we finally put that fucking song to rest? YMS made that video. Go watch that. It's a good video. I guess I'll link it in the description. That song's been used so much. It's been used in Shutter Island. It was used in Arrival. It was used in The Last of Us. I'm sick of it. Felt like it was completely emotionally manipulative and not useful at all. It would have been fine if you just had like an original track or something else like that, but it kind of tanked a lot of my goodwill towards this. But considering how good it is already, that doesn't mean that I hate it. I still really like it. One battle after another. Here we go. I should give a little addendum, I suppose. Redux review. In my last video, I gave it a 6 out of 10, and I said that it didn't look good. I was like constantly a little shifty and shaky because I was scared about the parking ticket running out. I saw it again in between then and now. I saw it on 70mm, and I really thought the 70mm print gave me a better idea of what the character of the image was supposed to be. And I really like the grain and all the little inconsistencies. I thought it looked much better. I think the original still looks a little too clean in my opinion. Again, not like I need like Spielbergian, stitching together composition. Not like I need an Orson Welles movie every time I watch a movie, but there is a lot of times where it's just dialogue scene there's just a close-up and a close-up, or a medium and a medium, and sometimes it feels like it's not taking advantage of the fact that it's shot in VistaVision. And I guess the main problem I have with the movie that I couldn't really articulate the last time I reviewed it is that I don't think there's enough in the relationship between Bob and Willa to hinge the movie on, and especially Bob and Perfidia as well. For me, the most important part of Perfidia is her postpartum depression and how she goes back into being a revolutionary. I guess reignite that spark in her. How that's conveyed is very expositional and very montage-like, and I don't think there's actually enough time to really dig into that arc, which to me was the most interesting part, but they just could have zoomed past it. This movie kind of reminded me of The Host, the Bong Joon-ho film, and I think that movie has a similar thing where it's about this dad looking for his daughter. They only have a very short amount of time together before they're separated, but that movie had that sort of warmth. It's not like I needed them to have their one scene together be a lovey-dovey and kisses and hugs or whatever, but I just feel like there wasn't quite enough there. This idea, there's so many ideas in the movie, I just wish it dug into some more than it digs into others. Like this idea of Willa being the mother in the relationship, as opposed to Bob, who's like the kid, even though he should be the father. But, I'm sorry, I'm still complaining about this movie, but I think it's still incredibly exciting, and I think this movie, on rewatch, it actually does have more there between Bob and Willa to make this work than I initially gave it credit for. There's so many great sequences, action-wise, in conjunction with the music, which I definitely appreciate a lot more. For me, there's still moments where Willa walking down that church corridor, it just gets so loud. Those are the moments that don't work. But the moments where Bob jumping out the window or him trying to look for the charger for the phone, that all worked well for me. Definitely appreciate that a lot more on rewatch. Sean Penn is excellent. Leo DiCaprio, I think it's maybe his best performance since Rick Dalton, or maybe even earlier. I think he's fantastic in this film. And I don't always love Leo. I didn't love him in Killers of the Flower Moon, even though he had really great moments. I thought in this movie he was consistently excellent. Jason Infinity is great as well, and Benicio del Toro is so good in the film. So excellent. I think he's way better here than he is in The Phoenician Scheme. Feel a little miscast in that movie, in my opinion. But very, very good movie. I got this from my mother. She's seen this 3 times. She's seen this more than I have. Marty Supreme. Here's another one that's on the top of people's list that I have some problems with. The first hour of this, I was certain I was watching my favorite movie of 2025. Because it's so different from every other Safdie Brothers movie. But it still feels so much like a Safdie Brothers movie. Even though Benny Safdie has gone off and done his own thing, which I'll actually talk about in a bit. It felt like this globe-trotting sports comedy, and to me that was so interesting, and I kind of wish it stayed in that mode. But then he gets back to New York. There's a chase scene that I thought was really effective, but then pretty much as soon as Abel Ferreira shows up, it just became a bit more of like an After Hours riff again, which is fine. It's still a good After Hours riff. I've seen the Safdie brothers do, we need to get enough money and outrun these people who try to arrest and or kill us, a couple of times now, and for me it was a bit disappointing to go straight back to that right after the first hour. Abel Ferreira, he's good in the movie, but for me all that stuff just felt way too tangential and not needed and distracting, especially since he doesn't even show up until a while into the film. So it kind of got to the point where during the last ping pong match, I've seen a lot of people go, I was so enthralled, and I was just kind of exhausted. It's definitely really good, but I was sort of distracted by everything else. But I really like the ending, even though I don't know what to make of it. Because everyone's like, well, this is just Marty accepting us to take responsibility. And it's like, I mean, kind of. Wouldn't the responsible thing to be to kiss the pig and then take the money and go raise his kid or whatever? Like, but then he's not a money-chasing person, but he's not, I don't know, like, there's kind of inconsistencies. This action he did make sense for this thing, but he's not the most pragmatic person in the world, so it makes sense that his actions like this don't line up. That's fine, I guess. The point is, I really like the last 5-10 minutes. I think it's some of Timothée Chalamet's best acting. I like the aesthetic. I love Darius Khondji's cinematography. Daniel Patton's score is phenomenal. It's at least like top 2 or 3 scores I've heard last year, and it's fantastic. It still feels very After Hours inspired, 80s inspired like the other stuff. There's a specific track in here that did remind me of the main motif from After Hours. And I remember being in the cinema going like, ah, that's a bit after hours. But I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was robbed from an Oscar nomination. That's crazy. Hamnet got one? You kidding? It's just the song again. Frankenstein had a score, I guess. I'm not going to talk about Frankenstein. I didn't like that movie. Did I already talk about that? No, I didn't. It was not great. Anyway, Darius Khondji was robbed from the cinematography nomination, and Jack Fisk's production design was phenomenal. It's so cool seeing a Safdie Brothers movie in that world with those textures applied to that world. He also did the production design for Killers of the Flower Moon. Very expansive, but not fake. Feels very historically accurate. I keep forgetting the costume designer's name. Here's her name. Fantastic. She's done all the other Safdie Brothers movies, and the fact that she's got a lot more money and resources to do this one, you could really tell everything good about those previous costumes, but just blown up to another level. Look, it's very good. I have problems with it. It's coming on Stan like tomorrow, so I'm probably going to rewatch it. I liked it. I liked it a lot. We've been going for half an hour. I'm not even out of 7 out of 10s yet. Alright, I'm getting a little speed round. Sly Lives, already talked about it. Very compelling documentary. Predators, another compelling documentary. A little on the nose, and the last shot is very on the nose. I saw this review that's very good on Letterboxd about how it tackles the sensationalistic aspects of To Catch a Predator and all those clones, but it doesn't dig into the disparity between people going out and doing this like vigilante justice sort of thing and like cops not doing it, and why they're sort of yearning for that because of how law enforcement doesn't really enforce law on sexual assailants. But ultimately, I still thought what it focused on, it being about the sensationalist aspect, has forced a lot of people to take child molestation and treat it as a hobby, and catching child molesters as a hobby instead of like baseball or music. It digs into that really well. It's definitely very pointed and biased. It should be biased. It's from one filmmaker's perspective, but it still feels like you can take your own interpretations away from it. There's a scene involving one of those To Catch a Predator clones. He says his catchphrase to one of them during this like really sad bit, and I legitimately put my head in my hands. I was like, oh my, like what? It short-circuited me. And I think that movie digs into that contrast really well, making entertainment out of something so vile. Perfect Neighbor, it's made out of police body cam footage, and it feels almost distasteful to say, but it's so engaging, so effective, because this is an actual murder. They don't show the murder, but they show the effects of the murder, just recorded through surveillance. But it's such an effective, emotionally devastating film about like standard ground laws. Bizarre. I mean, I can't even, it's like you just have to watch it. There's so many sad moments. They feel like dramatically perfect, but this happened in real life. It's such a feat in editing. So effective, and it's on Netflix. You should watch it. It's fantastic. Jay Kelly, I think it looks nice. George Clooney is fantastic. It looks a little too nice. I've seen that criticism and I kind of agree, but I don't know, I thought it was okay. Adam Sandler's fine. I've seen people hating on him, but he's perfectly fine. He doesn't really do his shtick. I still want to say it's a shtick. He doesn't do his shtick. He raises his voice like once in the movie. He's mostly just sad, which I find an interesting turn for him. I thought Laura Dern was a little disappointed, not because she's bad in the movie, but because her character is so one note, pounding in the theme of the movie with every line. But pretty much every performance was definitely charismatic. I think it's a charismatic movie. There's a little depth that's lost here, but again, George Clooney is fantastic. It's probably his best performance in a long time, and it's worth it for that alone. The Mastermind. A lot of people are criticizing this movie for being boring. I think it's not boring, but I can see, I guess there's a few moments where I'm like, that's a little boring. I can definitely see why. I'm not obtuse to that. I'm not going to be willingly obtuse towards why people don't like it, but I guess it does underutilize Eleanor Haim a little bit, but aesthetically, I really enjoyed it. Not because it looked like it was shot on film. It looked like digital recreating film, but I still like digital recreating film. I think that's a fun aesthetic in and of itself. Every performance is great. A lot of them very understated, even when they get angry. A lot of the framing of it is very wide and observant, but I think taking a story like that, which you could make into like a Safdie Brothers movie, this has the scale of something like Good Time, maybe even less, but you could make it into this tense thing, and the fact that it's so lackadaisical and jazzy and has such an ironic ending, it won me over. The Monkey, I already talked about. I think it's fun. It's kind of a one-joke movie, but I think the joke is funny, so sue me. Wake Up Dead Man, already reviewed it. It's probably the best Knives Out movie. It looks great. Again, Josh O'Connor is excellent. Great lead performance. Josh Brolin especially is excellent. It's a little long, not distractingly so, but it definitely does feel like for these slinky little mysteries, all of them have a bit too large a scale. Ryan Johnson's humor has always been a bit off. I know a lot of people didn't like the last one just because of how outwardly satirical it is. Outwardly satirical and failing to be funny in doing so. I think it's funny, but I don't think every joke lands. I think less jokes land in... I think more jokes land in... I think less jokes land in that than in this one. But it's good. I like it a lot. Just watch my previous review about it. It's still slinky. It still has a lot of good dialogue. It still has a pretty compelling mystery. And my biggest compliment is this is the movie in the franchise I've cared the least about the mystery out of any of them, and about who's going to get caught. Just because I was already so compelled by what the characters were doing. That was enough for me, and I thought that was interesting enough. It goes a little too big sometimes, especially the score. All the scores for these Knives Out movies sound a little bit the same, which is fine because they're good, but sometimes it goes a little too far. But I think generally it's very good. This might might be Ryan Johnson's best movie. I remember loving The Brothers Bloom when I was a teenager. I'm probably saying a bunch of stuff I already said in my last review. Superman. I've talked about this movie 3 times already. It's as good as a Superman movie in 2025 needed to be. Go watch my other reviews. Weapons. Very fun movie. I already talked about it. I'm going to repeat a lot of stuff. I don't really like Julia Garner, but I think she was very, very good in this movie. Josh Brolin, again, fantastic. Looks very good. The Prisoner's influence was very potent and apparent. I liked how it captured that atmosphere. And I'm very excited to see Zach Cregger's Resident Evil movie. I don't know anything about Resident Evil, but I'm sure it's going to be a good movie. And it's got Austin Abrams from this. Roofman. Fun. Tonally, it's a little bit like Catch Me If You Can, even if the pacing is way slower. It's similar how it's this sort of fun, slinky crime movie about this guy trying not to get caught, but it's ultimately a very sad movie about parenthood, very melancholic, and about if you're on the run like this, you can't really form relationships in a very meaningful way. It's probably Channing Tatum's best. Kirsten Dunst is fantastic. Every actor is fantastic. Ben Mendelsohn has a small role, but he kills it. I really liked how sad it was, even though the poster is marketing as a Seth Rogen-esque comedy. It's one of the worst posters and marketing decisions in the last year, but the movie's great. Bring Her Back, I already talked about this. It's very good, and it trusts the audience a lot more than I'd expect for a movie like this to do. The Smashing Machine, the new Safdie brothers joint, the new Josh Safdie film. I actually kind of like this more than Marty Supreme, and I think I'm in the minority about that. Don't get me wrong, there are moments that are very on the nose. There's a lot of stuff that really needed more digging into, like they'll just sort of in exposition go, Dawn, she's been drinking too much. Or Mark walks into rehab and then they just have a bit of a montage of other stuff going on. Then he just walks out of rehab. It's like, well, I guess he just went through rehab now. But all those little trip-ups, which there are quite a few, maybe a little too many, and maybe I'm giving this a little too much credit, but I thought all of that, to me, it was worth it for how effective the performances are. They feel a little broad, but in a way that has kind of a warmth to it, which, considering how you could tell this movie, ultimately does feel very cold in a lot of places, but there's kind of a warmth to this movie and a melancholy that I enjoyed a lot about this, and a broadness to it despite its hyper-specific visual style. That contrast of all of those elements and the atmosphere that created was very interesting to sink into. And I really like the ending. I think it looks fantastic. The use of lens flares, I haven't seen anything like it before. The main 3 people, all fantastic. The main 3 actors. I am excited to see where Benny Safdie goes as a solo director. You can see where he differed from Josh Safdie, even though Josh's movie feels more like a platonic ideal of a Safdie brothers movie than this one does. But I did like seeing that attitude applied to something with a lot less tension. There's a bit less urgency, but I didn't mind that. I thought it was interesting. If I had legs, I'd kick you. I said I really like Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. I very much do, but Rose Byrne maybe should have won over her. It's definitely the best female performance I've seen from 2025. It's definitely at least like top 3 in terms of all performances I saw from last year. She carries the movie. She's in like every scene. There's never a scene that breaks away from her perspective. The way she's able to be funny and her outbursts when she gets angry, the way that she's able to make some of them funny and some of them very tragic and aggressive, it all felt like such a tonal control over her performance. And the movie, it felt like tonally was just working off of her so well and so effectively. It felt like a perfect mix of like subject matter and filmmaking and aesthetic. Every side performance is great. A$AP Rocky in this movie, I talked about how I really liked him in Highest to Lowest. He is even better in this movie. He is fantastic. There's a person on a phone. I couldn't figure out who it was the whole movie, and then the actor shows up and I'm like, oh, of course, and he's great as well. Conan O'Brien's great. The kid is great. I really enjoyed this film. That's a good enough review, I think. It's great. It's very good. I'd recommend it very much.